move away from punishment is discipline. The law doesn't say you cannot discipline your child. I think the culture is important, but it doesn't transcend the laws. Because we're used to disciplining physically where we're coming from and the law permits it, actually here it says that you can do it, but it has to be proportionate.
So today on Ask Me series, like I said on this series, the previous videos, like I said, we're going to be bringing guests here that they're going to be sharing their experience or insights on most of the topics, because some of the questions that are coming, I didn't see them coming. So I posted a video recently and I said that I'm going to be bringing guests here, professionals, people that will share their perspectives and really talk about most of the questions that have been sent in anonymously. So today, I'm here with a friend who is also a professional in this area, in the question we are dealing with today. Welcome, June.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mabel. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Let's meet you, June.
Yeah. Wow. I'm June. I'm June Symonds, but professionally, I'm June Symonds. I'm a passionate advocate, a cultural engagement advocate. I'm a fully qualified social worker. I work in children and young people's service. I have worked in various areas of social work practice. I've worked with adults in recovery, in drug and alcohol recovery, supporting alongside. I've worked in young people's safeguarding and support. I've worked in primary schools here in a BCP area, supporting young people with additional needs and pastoral kind of oversight, safeguarding. And I've also done many things that don't even come into social care, like pensions and employee benefits, mortgages, all of those things before. So yeah, but for me, I think this is not a profession, it's a calling that God places on me, and it's a passion to be able to help others, and particularly to help our diverse community, to educate, empower, and to help raise awareness of some of the key issues that we believe, if we're able to educate on, will really help to safeguard and protect children, and also will inform parents and caregivers and give them better insight. Archbishop Desmond Tutu is late now, but we are passionate about what he said. He said there comes a point where we have to stop pulling people out of the river. We have to go upstream and find out why they are falling in. And that's why we're passionate about that kind of ambition. Because we believe if we can go upstream and find out why they are falling in, and we can educate, we can come alongside support, that will be preventative. And that is an early help module. But we also recognize here a kind of ambition that it doesn't always happen that way. So I always give the analogy of the driving. So if you are speeding and you get a ticket, you have the option to do a driver awareness course to help you with your knowledge, understanding. You may get the points and have to pay a fine. That is a restorative process. That is what we do here, Kind Ambition. We recognize that sometimes parents won't be aware, so they will do the things that they're not supposed to do. They'll break the law. We would need to educate and help give them that awareness, so that actually moving forward, they are full of insight and knowledge. They can share it with others. That's restorative practice. We really believe in that as well here.
Amazing. Yeah. So June here is the founder and principal consultant of Kind Ambition. You'll hear more about Kind Ambition in this video. You'll hear more about Kind Ambition after the question. So let's talk a little more.
Yeah.
June, how are you doing? So when you are not being kind to people from your from Kind Ambition, when you're not giving care or following up with people, sensitizing parents, what else do you do aside work?
I love what I do in terms of my connection with the Lord. I try and deepen my personal relationship with God. It's something I do. I'm perimenopausal, so I'm up very early in the morning, the ungodly hour that some people call it. So I will go for a prayer walk. I will go for a dip in the sea. I will spend some time with my husband. I will have a spa day when I can. We have a blended family with 5 wonderful girls, so sometimes we will spend time together as well. And I'm just really deeply grounded in family and in God's love. And every step of the way is about others, but also we stop to connect for ourselves, because we can't pour from an empty cup. So that's always something that I'm reminded of. But yeah.
Beautiful. I'm so excited to have you on this series.
Thank you. Thank
Seriously.
you.
So on this channel, we do more about marriage, relationships, and family.
Brilliant.
But we run a series where people send anonymous questions that
Okay.
borders them on these areas.
Right.
And we just provide insights, and then people share comments. And we believe that from there, people would, see some signposting, where there is counsel, multitude of it, there is safety. So people can just, get, informed advice.
Absolutely.
And, But recently, we've been getting more questions. I've got a couple of questions that borders on parenting and especially regarding or connected with immigrant families.
Right.
And I thought I got a professional for this.
Brilliant.
I can't say what I don't know or what I'm,
Yeah.
I just feel when people talk out of experience,
Yes.
they're more real, it's more practical. So
Absolutely.
I decided to
Absolutely.
bring you
I think lived experience is also great because we're always told that you are the expert in your lived experience. So often
it.
I go in humility and I say to families, teach me, tell me about your culture, tell me your understanding, tell me how you've been brought up. Because actually, when we understand that, there's something in our work that we use called social graces. They help us to know the identity, the culture, the background, the language, the sensitivities. That way you are better able to connect with that family and to be inclusive, because there might be something a family is doing that's very cultural. Without that insight, we wouldn't be able to understand it and we might see it completely different. So it's really good to put that cultural lens on, at the same time having that research lens on and still being able to support alongside. So yeah.
Amazing. That's profound.
Brilliant.
That's
Brilliant.
very profound. So we're dipping into the question today. I'll read it. It says, this one is from a Nigerian.
Okay.
It says, I'm a Nigerian mom living in the UK with my husband and our 2 sons, ages 7 and 10. I've always believed in disciplining firm but loving. That's how I was raised. One day, my 10-year-old son talked back at me over homework. So out of frustration, I gave him a slight smack on the hand and sent him to his room. I didn't think it was that deep until 2 days later when a social worker and a police officer showed up at our doorstep. Apparently, my son told his teacher that mommy hit me, and the school raised a safeguarding concern. It spiraled so fast. Interviews, home assessments, even temporary placement for my child with a family friend for his safety. We were treated like criminals for days. I kept crying, wondering how things got this far. My son eventually told them I wasn't abusive, that he still loves me and just didn't want to do his homework that day. We've been cleared now, but I'm left broken. I feel judged for parenting the way I know. It made me afraid to even correct my kids now. I still wake up with panic at every at every knock on the door. Is it wrong to raise my kids with values from my culture? Must we erase everything we know just to fit in? Please, am I the only one struggling with this balance?
Wow. Wow. Thank you.
That's
Thank
a
you
very
for sharing.
concerning one.
It is. It is. And as you're reading it, I have a lot of empathy, and often I want to be empathetic for people's situations, but also be able to be direct in telling you what the law also says. So really sorry that that family has experienced that. I cannot personally comment on the individual circumstances there. There probably is going to be likely to be more to that. I would say for the work I do, we support families and we always say those who have parental responsibility for you, they are the best people to care for you, unless it's not safe for them to do so. That's that caveat. It's really important. So if a circumstance happens that hasn't been mitigated, safety planning hasn't been done, an alternative carer hasn't been found that is willing and able to safely care for that child, then in the interim and short term, sometimes it's possible that an emergency protection order from police can be applied for, where children are made to be safe temporarily while support is offered to the family to understand, agree safety plan, and unpick what's actually happened. And we must be careful to understand, actually, without doing that, how do you then leave a child in an environment where they've been hurt and they're not safe? So the law in this country is very clear. We have the Children Act 1989. and we have the Children Act 2004. Those are the two main legislations that govern the work that we do. Very, very important. And within that is the legislation around physical chastisement. So I'm just going to explain a little bit that in Wales and Scotland, they have actually removed that reasonable punishment defence. So in Wales, March 2022, they announced that they had brought in within their law the Children Abolition of Defence and Reasonable Punishment Act 2020. So in Wales, there is no physical chastisement permitted under the law. In Scotland, all physical punishment is illegal. Now, they brought that in 2019. The Children Equal Protection from Assault Scotland Act 2019. It's removed the reasonable defence punishment, okay? It says reasonable punishment is considered, is really removed. So in Scotland and in Wales, it's considered assault for you to do that. In England and Northern Ireland, we have this caveat within our law that says reasonable punishment by a carer is still legally allowed under Section 58 of the Children Act 2004, but it does not apply if the punishment causes visible injury, and often I will say bruises, cuts, swellings, if it causes mental harm, or if there is more of a transient pain or discomfort. Okay, so if you use an implement or a closed fist. Now, an implement is against the law, so you will get a police criminal
If
record.
you use anything at all, any instrument.
So I have worked with families, and because of the cultural difference, they have used a belt, they have used a spatula, they have used a wooden spoon, they have used a mobile phone charging wire, they have used an umbrella to hit children. So for me, I really, and I'm going to touch on the key things from that. This person in that anonymous question says, must we erase everything to fit into the culture? Of course not. But if you're coming from a country where, and you said the person is Nigerian.
Yes.
The research I've done, I know that physical chastisement is permitted in Nigeria under the Sharia law and the penal codes 295 and 50 in the northern part of Nigeria. It is permitted. But again, we're not in Nigeria. So if you're here in England trying to raise your family, you know, there's an old adage that says, if you go to Rome,
you have to behave like
you do what the Romans do. I would encourage and empower every family here in England to learn how to safeguard your children. So it's great to learn what the immigration rules are, because most will say, oh, we have no recourse to public funds. Oh, can we go and pay this to have our visa application? Why do we place so much importance on that, but not about the safeguarding of our children? Because the voice of the child is paramount. And actually, that circumstance you explained there, the children are 7 and 10. It's a form of discipline. And I'm pleased that that person says discipline, because I prefer the word discipline to punishment. Because punishment starts to sever the connection that you have with your child. And actually, we understand from the research, Dr. Nadine Beck-Harris is a clinical pediatrician in Canada. She did work with CDC Kaiser, and she talks about adverse childhood experiences. Physical harm and punishment is what creates severe anger, low self-esteem, low confidence, trauma, resentment, attachment difficulties with your child. Bobby talks about attachment. Some children end up hating their parents, and having a disconnection from them because of the way they have disciplined them so physically and so violently. But also, I think they can end up also then becoming perpetrators of domestic abuse as they grow up. They can have issues with drug and alcohol, because all of those things lead into that. So once we understand the research, we then have to stop and say to ourselves, how do I connect better with my child? So if that child isn't doing their homework, they've talked back, they've been given a slight smack on their hand, I'm not telling you that right now that's against the law in England. What I'm telling you is the law says if you're going to do that, it must be proportionate. How do you determine proportionate? That's very subjective. So in an area where something is subjective, here at Kind Ambition, we would say to you, avoid doing it in the first place. Because I may walk in and tell you, no, that's not proportionate. So if the dining table leg was broken, and because your child has broken it, and you use that broken leg to hit them, I would say that's not proportionate. But perhaps you might have somebody from your country walk in and say, well, that was proportionate because he broke the table. So yeah, use it. Do you see what I mean? So it's a subjective area. So our advice is don't do it at all. Let's find non-violent ways to discipline our children in love, in compassion, in nurturing. How is it love to hit a child? Actually, the person talks about they were firm with their parenting and they were loving. There's a difference between being firm and actually inflicting pain.
So
Pain
you can
and
actually
injury.
be firm without inflicting pain
Absolutely.
while disciplining your children.
Yes. Yes, it's really, really important. So I can't talk specifically about that situation, but what I can say is we must arm children with the opportunities to be able to be honest and share their views, their wishes, their feelings, and we must listen. We must listen more than we speak as parents because all behavior is communication. So that child not wanting to do their homework, let's unpick that a little bit. I'll come to Dr. Dan Hughes in a minute, but in that situation, if I was that parent, what I would have said is, okay, let's say that child is Daphne. Okay, Daphne or Abiola, because it's Nigerian. Let's say Abiola.
Abiola is in
Okay,
Nigeria.
Abiola, I will come back to you in a minute. I can understand that something is making you feel like you don't really want to do your homework at the moment. I want you to do it. So I'm going to give you some time to think about it and I'll come back to you and we can talk about it. Is that okay? Walk away. Give them that reflective time. Because we want children to process things too quickly like us. Okay? They need that processing time. We teach them that in schools. We allow them that in schools.
Sometimes we forget they're
Yeah, they are our little humans that we have custody of and we are trying to develop. Let's model what we want them to do. So are you listening? Are you allowing your own self-processing time? Because if you're not, how are you offering it to your child? Because sometimes we give them instruction and we expect it there and then. Whoa, no, actually, their brain is now telling them, right, how many steps have I got to do in that? Can you empty the dishes, put your school bag down, and grab a pen and come and sit down? That's how many steps. That's how many steps. No, hi darling, great to see you. Did you have a good day at school? Why don't you pop your bag down and we can have a talk? That's just a welcome and one instruction. But when we are given multiple instructions, and we are so used to doing that culturally, I want our diverse community to stop and listen, okay? You may have been brought up in that way, but actually, did it work for you? Because it's clearly not working for your children. So how about let's reflect together?
It might not work on your children because they're even in a different terrain.
Completely. And their social circles, what they are being taught in school, they're being given time in school to process what they have to do. When you do an input in school on the carpet with children, you do a plenary. You stop and you go over the intended learning outcome that you've done with them. And then you say to them, what are we going to be learning today? What is our learning outcome today? And children tell you that before they leave the carpet and go back to their tables to start the task. They've had all that processing time. And parents, we don't know that because that's happening in school. But I want to educate you on that today. I spent 7 years working in a primary school. And it was the most blessed time of my career before I came into social care. And I see how amazing we can support children to grow. It says that they will hear what you say, what you do, but actually how you make them feel, they won't forget. Maya Angelou, I love Maya Angelou. She says that, how we make people feel is important. And they come away with how they felt in that teaching. So at home, let's try and adopt that. It's really, really important. There is an opportunity for us to break some generational trauma, particularly when we're coming from global majority families. We are global majority. I do hear the ethnic minority being said sometimes. I prefer global majority because we know we are global majority. But at the same time, we also have some parenting practices that our grandparents have used, our parents have used,
clinging on to.
and now we need to break those generational cycles. So nobody's saying your culture isn't important. Culture, it does not transcend the law. Okay, it's so important to keep that. Teach them the language. Let them understand their identity. If it's important, let them wear. Let them take something for their friend that tells them about their culture. Let them talk about where they're coming from and how their hair is styled, because for us it's important. But actually, when it comes to safeguarding should be a common language worldwide. Every child deserves to be safe, happy, and healthy. And if you're going to hit that child, think about the impact it's going to have on them. A closed fist is not going to be seen as reasonable punishment because you may leave bruising. And what did I say earlier about the law in England, Section 58 of the Children Act? Exactly. It will leave a bruise, it will leave a cut, it will leave a swelling. You've broken the law. And you will have a police criminal record for that. and if you use an implement. So I've recently done a parenting workshop, and actually I think I shared that today. Please go to kindambition.co.uk. Follow us on our Facebook page. We're on LinkedIn and we're on TikTok as well. We share some really, really vital information to help equip you in your parenting. And this father said to me, I cannot believe that I hit my child with a mobile phone charging wire. Now, initially, I mean, it was that specific because the child actually even shared the color of the wire. That's how specific we must be in hearing children's voice. So tonation, words, and the language children say. And that child went, no, daddy, you hit me with that red wire. No, it wasn't even a hit. It was a flog. That's the word she used. You flogged me with the red wire. So for me, as a practitioner, I hear the word flog and my ears go up.
That's a very deliberate one.
Thank you. How are we safeguarding our children in our homes? Because don't forget, you are their safe space. You are their safe person. If anything happens to them in the world, they're supposed to run to you to be embraced. If you are dishing out that sort of discipline, how can they run to you? They won't be able to. Then they start to find their other safe places. And we encourage people that actually, children, if you don't have that safe space, where are they going to be? They spend a lot of time in school. They build firm relationships with teaching staff, and we applaud what teaching staff do. They are safe spaces for them. Social care practitioners I go into schools and I see children, and as passion, I want to hear their voice and I want to advocate for their voice. So in this situation, I would have seen that parent and I would have given them some non-violent ways of doing it, and actually an approach that's therapeutic. So we use a therapeutic parenting approach here called PACE. So a lot of people say, June, we hear you say PACE all the time. Follow me, you probably hear it every week and what we put out to help you. It's by a doctor, as clinical doctor, Dr. Dan Hughes. And he says, sometimes you will not always have a capital P in PACE because you can't always be playful with your children. There might be certain circumstances where actually they've annoyed you so much that there's no way you can be playful. That's okay. It will be a small P. But he said it should be a capital ACE. So playfulness, and I'm going to say some culturally, some diverse families are not playful with their children. I have seen some parents whose kids are so scared of them.
It doesn't come naturally.
Thank you. It doesn't come naturally. So I want you to work on it, please. Connect with them. Find that time to share a laugh with them. Take a memory from years ago that you all had as a family. Talk about it at the table and laugh. Get the Uno out. Play some Uno games. It's only a card game. Uno costs £2-3. You can even pick up a board game in a charity shop. We often do that. I go to the charity shop and for £2-3, you can pick up a board game. Sit and play together because the devices can take them away. But there are times when you can say, hey, today we're just playing, or double. I have double in my car. I take it to children. They love it. The Rubik's Cube. Hey, you try and do that Rubik's Cube for me. As they're doing it, you're chatting because actually that's the best way to also connect with them when they're doing something and you're talking away. So playfulness, I just want to encourage families to do that. Dr. Dan Hughes then talks about the A. He says the A is acceptance.
Acceptance.
He says you don't have to accept your child's undesirable behavior, but he wants you to validate their emotions. So I'm not going to school today. They bang the door and they go to their bedroom. You're not accepting that behavior, but what you're doing is you want to validate how they're feeling. So, hey, Oduola, I know that you don't want to go to
Nigerian
Oduola, I know you don't want to go to school today. I can imagine that something is going on for you that's making you feel like that. I'm going to be with you in a minute. Perhaps we can sit and talk about it. Then you walk away. You're validating how they're possibly feeling, but you're not there going, yeah, you're not going to school. That's fine. I'm accepting that. No, because you give them that time. And actually, they will think, oh, actually, yeah, she does want to talk about perhaps what's going on for me.
So maybe she understands.
Yeah, and something may be going on emotionally. Then you can have that time to sit and unpick with them. Dr. Dan Hughes then says, the C is for curiosity. And he says, we're all curious in our parenting. He said, all behavior is communication. So I said that earlier. Your child was trying to communicate something, talking back, but they didn't do it quite the right way. So how can we help them? Be curious and say, I wonder what went on for you. I don't know why you're thinking that actually talking back to me is helpful, because you know you don't normally do that. Have a think about it. When you're ready to talk, give me a shout and we'll sit down and talk about it. At the moment, I'm just going to make myself a cup of tea. get on with what you're doing. We need to give them that time. And E, he says, is empathy. He says empathy isn't sympathy. Empathy is about putting yourself in that person's shoe. How are they feeling? So let's say it was your 7-year-old or the 10-year-old who said, actually, I'm not doing that homework. They were talking back. How are they feeling at that moment? Something may have happened for them in the day at school that's really triggered them. They've come home. Some children do masking. What we call masking is they may have, and I honestly believe that in the global majority community, some of us have a lot of trauma and attachment difficulties. But you see, the culture doesn't allow us to talk about it. Recently, someone said to me, June, did you ever hear a psychologist or a counselor when you were in Africa? And I went, oh, what a good point. So often when we say, let's talk, let's counsel them, because our elders do it in our culture, we don't seek to go to professionals for that support. And we really must. Because actually, that's the wisdom God is also giving to them. The same wisdom that God gives doctors, nurses, lawyers, that you go and get your home office visa and everything from. It's the same wisdom that he gives to counselors and psychotherapists. So it's important that we seek professional counseling as well. And actually, our children's first counselors are us. They are us, unless it's not safe for us to do that. So in that situation, I would say the empathy is about empathizing with your child. I've heard this thing about in parenting where people do the naughty step, or we leave you go in your room for 2 hours. What's that going to do? What's 2 hours for a 10-year-old in their room going to do?
Alone.
You're giving them time to mope over nothing and actually then start doing other things. Actually, I used to do something which some parents might not even agree, but when my children were growing up, if they were 6, I would say, right, have some thinking time for 6 minutes. 10 years old, have some 10 minutes thinking time and come, let's have that inclusive time. So it's not time out, it's time in. And that time in allows you
with
to
them.
talk about expectations, how you felt, because we must also let our children know how we feel. And then they open up to tell us how they're feeling. Because if you're culturally, parents are not very good to stop and allow children to tell you how they're feeling. And as soon as some children start to tell you how they're feeling, you think that it's disrespectful. But it's not. That's the child wanting to share how they're deeply feeling. See what I mean? And I did a post, funny enough, today on forgiveness. And culturally, I wanted to really bring that across, that we're not very good at apologizing to our children.
Yeah, it doesn't come naturally.
It doesn't come naturally. And my lived experience is what I draw into the work that I do. I was born in England. I was primarily raised in Ghana in my formative years. I was in boarding school at the age of 12 till I was 19 when I returned back to England. I'm not going to give you my age, but I've been back over 30 years now. But what I'm going to say to you is my primary carer never apologized to me growing up. I don't remember it. It was actually my non-violent carer who would often come and reassure me. So perhaps you may have a mum who is the one that disciplines in a physically chastising way. It's always the dad who will come and reassure, but not the one who is doing it. So what does that tell us? So I want families to stop and reflect and say, actually, when you've even done a wrong, please stop, listen to your child, how they're feeling, render the apology. Apology that doesn't come with a but. You leave that word out, B-U-T. Oh, I'm sorry, but you should have done it this way. No. What you're doing is actually saying, no, I don't. I shift the blame away from me. But we need to take the blame, because if we want to model that for our children, that's what they're going to do. So if you want them to be children that are growing up understanding empathy, emotional intelligence, and resilience, we have to model it for them.
I definitely think, well done, June. I definitely think we have a lot to do as parents, especially from, the immigrant communities, because we actually can't give what we don't have. But if we want to alter the destiny of the next generation we are raising, then we have to give them something different from what we got. Now, it's not easy for an average, African parent to take the blame, apologize to their children, because we didn't receive it.
Yes.
So are we passing that on to our children? And then the cycle keeps going on.
Keeps going.
So we have to be open to change, open to learning. Growth. I'm going to ask, just before we round up, what are some of the practices you've seen that are very prevalent with immigrant parents here in the UK? Just for people to know that, okay, these things are are actually not right. They are actually not accepted culturally, because
Yeah.
I actually think that before you decide to relocate or to go into a new place, you should actually understand, is this place right for you as a person, as a family, with your children?
Yes.
Are you okay with the laws or with the cultural whatever that has to do with raising those children? Because
Absolutely.
one thing that is very common is that people don't know.
Yeah.
Some people
It's the
don't know.
lack
So
of knowledge.
it's like very strange that I can't leave
Yes.
my children at home. Even if it's
Yes.
not a major thing back where I come from, because you have an inclusive, community,
Yeah.
neighbors looking after your children. But this is a different place.
Yeah.
So many of those things just come, and it's held it's serious here.
Yeah.
Anything about children, it's serious. It's a safeguarding.
Absolutely.
Any passerby can actually raise a safeguarding case about your children.
Yeah. Yeah.
You hear a
Absolutely.
child screaming here, a neighbor can actually call and say,
Absolutely.
"A child." It's not. I think the first thing is not seeing it as a wicked thing. The first thing is actually the law, because
Thank you.
when I came into the UK, I worked a while with 111.
Oh,
It's
yes.
actually our job that if cases are being, there's a call now we receive that, a child just fell from somewhere. While we are rendering care or trying to get that child, or trying to get the 999,
Yeah.
rescuing that, it's actually our duty to report
Yes.
that as a safeguarding
Safeguarding
concern.
concern. Yep.
It is not it's not trying to be wicked or anything. It's
Yeah.
actually the right thing to do.
Yeah.
That anybody
Absolutely.
has to do, whether they know you
Absolutely.
or not. They can't tell you if they want,
Yeah.
but they might not tell you. They just have to safeguard that child.
Absolutely.
Which is a primary thing.
Absolutely.
So what are some of those practices you're saying very common about immigrant families as regards safeguarding issues?
So I would say, I'm going to give you a few. I'm very open, and I run parenting workshops. We will be doing some group ones very soon, but contact us. We will come in, we'll deliver a session, very reasonably priced. I want families to invest in that. You pay thousands of pounds to your immigration lawyer. This could potentially put you in a situation where it impacts your indefinite leave to remain when you have a police record as a result of physical chastisement. It's really, really key. So I think families need to understand that. So I've seen children who've been left at home on their own. Culturally, we use a model called the Two Houses, fantastic, by Dr. Amma Ananiege. Thank you, Dr. Amma. She allows us to look at a host culture, and she says your host culture is England. This is where you are now with your family. What are the differences here for you? The language, the culture, the food, safeguarding, community. You may be in Nigeria. You had the whole compound. Oh, Auntie Ofo, can you just keep an eye on the kids? I'm going to the market. I'll be back. Auntie's happy to do that. Okay. Uncle, Ebola, do you know what? They're just going to classes after church, and they will come back home. You'll be here, yeah? Uncle will be here. It's not the case here. You're here, I call it your eco map of support. You need to really broaden your eco map of support. Leaving your children at home, there is no specific law at the moment in English law that says you can't leave your child at home. And I will post some stuff. I've posted a few things as well, follow. But we give guidance. We share what the NSPCC offer as well. The law says doing that, you must look at the maturity level of your child, whether they are developed enough. Clearly, any child under the age of 3 must not be left at home on their own, and babies must not. But if you're going to leave, say, an 11-year-old at home, and you're telling me, oh, I just popped to the shop to buy milk for half an hour, or you've left a 14-year-old and, oh, it's just a couple of hours we're popping out, it's just 2 hours. If that child is deemed mature enough, then you've made that decision as a parent. What I always say is, think about when the unfortunate happens. So you can have 3 children, the eldest is 11, and you've left all 3 of them at home and you've gone on a night shift. Now, is that really a sensible thing to do? Is an 11-year-old mature enough to care for 2 younger siblings overnight while you go to work? I would say no. I would say, please be mindful of that. If there was to be a fire in your home while you're gone, how will they get out? How would you safeguard them? So if a neighbor then rings the police and say, look, those kids are on their own, that neighbor actually is safeguarding. They are looking from a safeguarding lens. I've had some parents say to me, oh, they're just nosy neighbors. They're always reporting us. No, actually, what they did was to help you to understand the safeguarding laws here. So until Abiola is not here, Oduola is not here, you are responsible to safeguard your children. I wouldn't encourage you. Look at their maturity level. Actually, try and do some different shifts. Alternate with your partner. Some families have told me that it's so expensive paying rent here. They're sending money back home, then all the bills and the children. So I know it's really tough. But actually, we must put safeguarding at the forefront of everything we do because the children are paramount. So that's one of the things we see. One of the things I've also seen is children being beaten in public. So you've gone shopping and the child is shouting. They don't really want that. You've told them to take that sweet away. They're still having the sweet. And then actually they're even warning them before they beat them. In public, in the shopping arena. I'm going to smack you in a minute. And you know, as our culture, I am part of it. When I'm passionate, my voice goes up. Because we're passionate, you see.
Our voice.
Sometimes my kids will say to me, Mom, you're just shouting. And I'm on the phone to my sister because we're just so passionately talking about something. So I get it. And culturally, that's also one of the bits of training I give professionals. So I deliver training to professionals as well. We've recently delivered to frontline staff in one of the local authorities here, and they received it really well. It's a multi-agency safeguarding hub team because they get all the front door referrals and they really appreciated the cultural context. I was able to share with them that we get very passionate. Somebody might think that's shouting, but actually you need to understand the culture and the passion that's coming from it. So long as it's not given with anger. When it's given with anger, often I have to allow families to calm down. I've had it where families have been so agitated by it that they can't even believe that professionals have had a strategy discussion to talk about the safeguarding of a child. That's the law. That's what we have to do to safeguard children. So when anger comes in, I allow them time to calm down, let the anger dissipate. Then they start to realize what we're trying to say. So it's really important. The other thing I've seen is labels. Some families are labeling children as witches. The devil is in them because they haven't done what you've asked them to do. Okay. Please look up Victoria Climbie. Climbie, Climbie. And I think there's a bit of an apostrophe on the top of the E. Many years ago, Victoria Climbie died here in England, very, very sadly. I think it was 2010, if I've quoted the right year. Her great auntie, she was Nigerian. Victoria's great auntie and the great auntie's boyfriend killed her. Okay. And part of what they did, beating her, thinking the devil was in her, there's quite a lot. There was a Victoria Climbie inquiry that happened. We have had to tighten the legislation here in the UK to safeguard children as a result of some of those serious case reviews from Victoria Climbie, from Baby P. Please read up about it because as professionals, that's our duty. And I'm here to also encourage and educate you. We label our children as the devil is in them. They are a witch. Sometimes you've come from Africa and you think, oh, that child is a witch. They take them to church and then everything is being cast out of them because the demons are in them. Really? Where does it come from? And we can label so wrongly that we inflict pain and emotional damage on children. I recently bought a new book, funny enough, fantastic. And I think I had it somewhere around here. And it's all talking about how we can help learn about the labeling that is wrong and the stigma attached to it, which then means that some children are not safe. And some parents can literally see their child as a witch or the devil in them, that they mistreat them compared to the other children. So you can have a home where a child is treated considerably differently from the other children, where one is being beaten, the other one isn't. One hardly gets fed, the others are fed because they're considered to be a witch or the devil is in them. How is that safeguarding your child? We need to put our cultural practices to one side when it comes to your child's emotions and understanding them psychologically. Actually, if I were you as a parent, I'd be going to get some more psychological support for that child. I'd be connecting with them more, making time to go out and have lunch with them. Go and make some sandcastles. Have a chat with them over what? Bubble tea. Go to the cinema. Have a walk. Have a drive in the car. Young people talk even better when they're in the car because they're not facing you.
Yeah, and they don't take it as if it's a serious discussion or you're trying to get information.
It's so much better. So it's about not labeling them. And as professionals, we also deliver training to professionals to help them become aware of that. And it's important when we're helping them, we're saying to them, this is what you may see culturally. It's really, really important. There's one thing that I also deliver as part of my workshops, which I had a really terrible incident about. So I really must share it with you all. When we're coming from our different cultures and countries, medically, what's offered there is very different from here. I remember years ago going to Disneyland in Florida, and I was so ill on the plane that when I landed there, we had to go straight to hospital. And you know, the first thing they asked me was my insurance. They weren't interested about caring for me first. They needed to know where my insurance paperwork was. I gave it to them, and then I was treated. That was very different from the UK, where we are blessed to have the National Health Service. Some may say it doesn't quite meet up to par, but I would say it was very different. Now, it will be very different from the country you're coming from. Yeah. So here in England, in reception year, the school nursing team will go in and they will test your child's ears, their hearing, and I believe their eyesight is also looked at. Then if they pick up anything from that they think, oh, perhaps your child might have a vulnerability to a hearing problem or something to do with their eyes, there's a follow-up that happens. Now, I believe that follow-up sometimes happens perhaps when your child has got to year 1 because they've passed reception. Then you may get a letter in the post that says, oh, Odiola needs to be presented to Portsmouth City Hospital or Victoria Hospital on this day for her hearing to be checked. I had a father who was absolutely fuming about this, who said, I haven't told them there's nothing wrong with my child's ears. They're interfering. And I went, oh, what do you mean? This father had already been to the child's school, and had a go at them and told them that it was them that had told them.
They shouldn't check the child.
Mm-hmm. It was none of their business. There's nothing wrong with their child's ears. And as a result of that, this father had ignored the letters from the hospital for the appointment. There are text messages that the NHS had sent to parents reminding you of the appointment that had also been ignored. And I had a letter from the hospital because the children were open to me. So I then gave this father a call and I said, oh, I'm a bit concerned. I don't want to be suggesting medical neglect of any form, but I want to understand why your child hasn't been presented. And then, of course, he gave me all this and he was very angry. So I just had to wait for him to calm down. And I said, do you remember what I told you before? Sometimes when we become angry, we need to wait, calm down. I often say, write it down, write an email. You have an audit trail, and then sometimes it dissipates your anger. You go away, you check it, and you think, oh, that's not what I wanted to send. I'm going to tone it down now. And after I explained it to him, I said, you need to call the hospital and rebook that appointment. I said, in your country, there's nobody checking your child's ears in reception year, is there?
This is a routine check for everybody.
Thank you. And he understood it. He was so embarrassed at that point. I said, I need you to rebook the appointment. When you've taken the child, would you kindly let me know just so that we can have a note to say what the results were? Then I said to him, oh, I think there might be something else you might want to do. Because we work alongside families, our practice is relational. And I think it's important that sometimes we also stop and say to parents, what do you think you could do to make things better? So I said to him, how will you build your relationship with school? Because you see the school every single day, your child is there. Staff do an amazing job. But how you've behaved towards them, what do you think you could do about it? And he wasn't sure. He went quiet. So I said, well, perhaps you may have to have a think about whether you need to go and apologize. Because that member of staff spoke bitterly about your experience with them. A lot of shouting and a lot of anger. And now that you understand it in context, look at the information. You know, there's a Bible scripture that says, for lack of knowledge, my people perish. Let's have that knowledge. Let's share it with one another. And that's why we believe in sharing that knowledge. And I believe he did. The next time I saw the lady in the school, the designated safeguarding lead, she actually referred to that situation and she was like, oh, we get on really well with him now. I was so proud of that dad. When I saw him on my next visit, I said, I'm very, very proud of you. Okay, for swallowing your pride. Because cultural pride is a very, very big thing. And I want us to understand that. Cultural pride is something we need to reflect on as parents. Because sometimes it overtakes what we are able to do to safeguard our children. And we become too proud and too set in stone in, oh, that's my culture. Your culture does not transcend the law. And most families I also come across that are global majority tend to have a faith. So they're Christians, they're Muslims. Reflect and draw on your faith. Where does that come in? And how does pride, what does the Bible say about pride? it comes after what? There's a hefty fall.
True.
Okay, and pride is not a good thing. So actually, children learn in humility. We adults must learn in humility. I learn from children every single day. I recently learned from a child, and they said something like, I've learned how to tackle in football properly. And I went, I didn't even know something they learned. But I took him to an event and he had an activity and I picked him up in the car and we were talking, what have you learned today? And he thought he'd learn how to tackle in football properly. And I was like, wow, that's actually a skill they teach. How brilliant. Because if you don't tackle properly, you could hurt somebody. You could be so violent with them trying to tackle them that you could break their leg. So learning that, I was like, wow, now I understand that. That was a light bulb moment for me. I'm always learning, and I even learn from parents. I go in and I say, what's your culture? How different is it? Recently, I learned a greeting, namaste, I was told. I go in and I say, right, in your culture, what do you want me to do different when I come into your home? Some say, oh, we take our shoes out there. Oh, we can't sit on that chair. This chair is for our dad. He's the only person that sits on it in our lounge. It's brilliant. Because I will walk in as a professional and I will respect that. And I will say to you, where would you like me to sit? So we do all of that because we want to be inclusive. We want to learn about your culture. So if I'm here learning about your culture, helping you to understand about the law, I want you to also take humility to learn. So those are some of the things we see. And we really hope that, with what we're doing at Kind Ambition, it will help to inform.
Yeah. So how does Kind Ambition help an average parent out there?
Yeah.
So where do we have to, what service do you provide to to families, to organizations, and how can we contact you?
So kindambition.co.uk. We are on Facebook as Kind Ambition. We are on LinkedIn as Kind Ambition. We've recently joined TikTok. Bear with us. We are not very technical, but we have so many recommendations saying you need to be there, you need to be there. So we are there as well. We are also on WhatsApp. So our number is clearly displayed on all of the social media. You can send a WhatsApp message. We deliver parenting workshops. So we will come to your home. I'll come to your home for 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours. We'll deliver a session, very reasonably charged. I will tell you that if you're going to spend a weekend having a takeaway with your family, what we charge will cost less than your weekend takeaway. So it's valuable and you are investing in the safeguarding of your family. Because by the time you get to paying your immigration lawyer and you've already faulted in the law and got a criminal record, which is going to impact your ILR, actually, would you have not been better investing in Kind Ambition training and workshop to help you than to get there? Really important. So we do that. We will also do small group workshops. So we've delivered to some local small groups. We recently had a small ladies prayer group who contacted us and we were like, oh, wow. So it's about 40 ladies. They pray online because they're based in different locations and they pray online regularly. And they said a couple of them had been really impacted by their children being on a child protection plan because of physical chastisement. So they wanted to learn. So they got in touch with me and I said, why not? For a small fee, we were able to hold a Zoom session for 2 hours. We delivered this for them. They had lots of questions, so we did go over the 2 hours, but it was fine. We were able to answer these questions to give that knowledge and insight, and it was very beneficial. We will also go out to community groups. So I know that locally we have the Yorubas have a community group, the Igbos have a community group. There's a charitable community group that have also called on to us that we will come and we will deliver to the session. We have some great resources. We do our short leaflets that just gives you, we've coined an acronym, PRIME, to help you in your parenting. So when I walk away from here, I want you to remember PRIME, not the Amazon Prime. I know it's one of my favorites. I need to shy away from it. But our Kind Ambition PRIME says your parenting should be, physical chastisement should be proportionate, reasonable punishment, implement free, marks free, effective way of parenting, PRIME. And we'll give you one. We have a detailed leaflet as well that actually goes into it a bit more, gives you a bit more about PACE as well, and then tells you a bit more about adverse childhood experiences that you can take away as well. So we will do workshops for community groups as well. We go into churches and we deliver to churches as well. What we find is our diverse community are in church. So we want you to learn from there. And those who support our children in churches. We're going to schools. Schools get us in on their Implement Teacher Training Day, and we deliver to their staff to help them understand the cultural aspect, and then to their diverse parenting community. We also go out to professionals. So we're delivering at the moment to social care professionals, newly qualified social workers. We're delivering to, we've got some commission coming up to deliver within the NHS as well to help, because what we're finding is some of our families are coming with a certificate of sponsorship or a postgraduate or undergraduate visa. Now, as a certificate of sponsorship, you would have been given some training to do your job, but not training to safeguard your children.
That's true.
So we want to tap into that to try and help support that as well.
Amazing work Kind Ambition is doing. So Kind Ambition is all about protecting children and bridging cultures. So if you've got friends that are just relocating, that have children, don't wait till they have any issue with parenting.
Thank you.
I think you should be following Kind Ambition. They run courses. Sometimes you look at some people are not really very familiar with spending money when there is need. But when that need comes, when that problem comes, you discover that you spend more. Financially, you spend more. Physically, the emotional stress is something you can actually avoid by arming yourself and being knowledgeable about this. And trust me, if you got this knowledge, if you got everything you need, you won't have any issues. With parenting, and you would actually have a very beautiful experience, because there are resources here. There are libraries. There are gardens. There are so many things for you to help bridge your parenting, to help you foster that connection with your children, your relationship with your children. So I'll be putting the details to Kind Ambition here.
Thank you.
June has been a professional for so many years. You see her up again in this channel because I have many questions that she has to deal with. So June, thank you for coming on this.
Thank you. I wanted to just share this last feedback that we've had from a parent this week, and it's been quite profound. And this is what this parent said. So they had actually physically chastised their child with a spatula from the kitchen. And after all of our direct work, this is what this father said to me. It's made me a better person. There is a lot I have learned. I will let love lead, because when love leads, we have a healthier environment for our family. This has been a culture shock. Those were his words.
What a culture shock.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely amazing.
Great work you're doing, June. Thank you very much. If this video has been helpful, I want you to send it to someone anywhere in the world, anyone that is, raising a child, raising teenagers, a parent, a couple. Send it to them out there. One or two information here will be very, very helpful in their parenting journey. And please subscribe if you haven't. Here we share, perspective and insights, and I bring seasoned guests here to share their insights on relationships, on family, and on marriage. So it will be a great one. And let me hear your comment. What one thing have you taken away from this talk with June? And help me say thank you to June on the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.
Thank you,
June.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you, Mabel.